Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 209 based on novel. So let's start. He executed 10,000 spirit nature technique, and small whirlwinds rose in the canyon as he tried to raise a dune giant. However, the sand flowed and everything returned back to normal. Impossible. 10,000 spirit nature technique can enlighten all things, giving them spirit. So why couldn't it enlighten the sand and stone here? He squatted down and grabbed a handful of yellow sand. He suddenly grunted as he lifted his hand up with difficulty. Jiang Miao was puzzled and tried to lift a handful as well. Every grain of the yellow sand was incomparably heavy, equivalent to the weight of a mountain. Qin Mu splayed his fingers, and the fine sand trickled down. When they smashed against the ground, they gave off loud rumbles similar to thunder. This isn't sand, but spirit weapons. One grain of sand was left on Qin Mu's palm, and he blew on it with his vital qi. It instantly flew up and swirled, transforming into a sandstone with a radius of dozens of fields. When it flew in the sky, the sound of air breaking was deafening. When the vital qi from that breath of Qin Mu was finally exhausted, the sandstone shrunk and fell down as a grain of sand. Jiang Miao jumped in shock and looked at the yellow sand in the canyon. The grains of sand were too numerous to count, probably in the billions. If each grain was as huge as the one Qin Mu had brought up, how astonishing would their weight be? The god writings on both sides of the canyon are seals to hold the power of the sand in check. Once we go in, the seal and the formation will be activated. Qin Mu opened his divine eyes and looked at the sky. He suddenly let out a breath, and fog instantly spread through the sky. Rain started to fall slowly. Yet it didn't reach the canyon. Instead, it got blocked by an invisible barrier. The rainwater formed cubes in the sky. The seals here are similar to the seal of parameter arc. One cannot enter from the sky. He flew up and looked into the depths of the canyon, frowning slightly. The canyon was over 10 miles long. Yet it suddenly vanished after that distance. It was as though it was cut off. The back of the canyon should be hidden. Qin Mu started to fret. If Grandpa Blind was here, he could try to solve this, but with my abilities, it'd be too difficult to deal with this god-level sealing and killing formation. It's very dangerous. Jiang Miao, let's return. We can't step in here. Jiang Miao revealed a disappointed look. However, his abilities were far inferior to those of Qin Mu. If even Qin Mu said they couldn't step in, he also couldn't do anything about it. Suddenly, Qin Mu was slightly stunned the next moment. In front of the lake, he saw space tear open, revealing a door. The sky and the earth were flipped open. The sky was still okay, as one couldn't see any abnormalities if they didn't look closely. However, the earth kept trembling, and pieces of land appeared out of thin air, distancing themselves from the door. In an instant, they were 100 miles away. Next, Qin Mu saw a familiar figure walking out of the door. The moment it appeared, he instantly knew that things were bad and turned around to flee with Jiang Miao and the chess. But the sky and earth overlapped once again, and brought them to the door. Great Cult Master Qin, the familiar figure said in a familiar voice, which had a hint of astonishment and delight. What a small world. You even brought a dragon and my chest with you. Don't turn around, keep your back to me. Qin Mu felt the murderous intent coming from the person behind him, and the smile of his face froze. Senior brother Shingan has already found the source of the jade pendant, right? I didn't lie to you, did I? You didn't lie to me. I had indeed found numerous ruins with traces of the jade pendant. Shingan took out the mirror that Lu Li had handed to him. With his back against Qin Mu, he raised the mirror and said indifferently, You weren't lying. but you had purposely lured me there and had a mischievous mute trap me there for half a year. If I hadn't become a god and made that mute know that is in trouble, who knows how long I would have been trapped there. The life and death book is in your hands, right? Qin Mu was frozen in place by his aura, but his heart trembled violently. Without changing his expression, he said, "Life and death book was seized by a youth. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I was actually not his opponent and he seized it by force." Shingan's gaze landed on the mirror where Qin Mu looked as usual. The next moment though, the mirror image slowly turned its head around. The corners of Shingan's eyes twitched furiously. He saw the youth in the mirror change, and a devil eye filled with devil nature and desire for destruction appeared in Qin Mu's forehead. This devil eye was slowly opening while gripping his soul. Shingan's hand trembled, and the mirror suddenly shattered. Shingan hurriedly looked behind himself, but Qin Mu's back was still facing him, he hadn't turned around. However, the Qin Mu in the mirror had clearly looked back. His mind raced, and his aura wavered. Qin Mu took hold of this chance to grab the chest, and the little dragon, to rush into the canyon. When Qin Mu brought the chest and Jiang Miao into the canyon, he saw the light flowing from the huge runes on both sides of the cliff. The next instant, all the sand in the entire canyon flew up as though a sandstorm was raising. "Don't breathe!" Qin Mu shouted out. "Seal up all your pores." Jiang Miao instantly understood what was happening and held his breath while sealing up all of his pores. The sand in the canyon wasn't just yellow sand, but spirit weapons, and any grain of sand could expand anytime to become a huge sandstone the size of dozens of fields. If they breathed in numerous grains of sands into their nasal cavity, throat, or lungs, the result would not be pretty. If a few grains of sand entered their pores and expanded outwards, it would also be extremely terrible for them. The instant before the violent sand reached them, Qin Mu poured vital qi into his sword pellet, and it instantly expanded. Flying swords flowed like water and transformed into a perfect metal sphere, hiding them within. Even the most exquisite sword skills would find it difficult to defend against the bombardment of the violent sand. He couldn't ensure that he would be able to block every grain of sand, so he might as well use his sword pellet to form the most perfect sphere to protect him. In Li City, he had already forged his flying swords into flowing water. Like mute sword pellets, it could transform into any form he wanted. For having refined a weapon to such a step, his forging method could be considered god level. The moment Qin Mu hid inside the sword pellet, the violent sand arrived, and in an instant, small dents marred the sphere where numerous grains of sand had hit. The materials that Cai Yunxiang had given Qin Mu to forge his swords were of the highest quality. He might have been resentful about the resulting swords being too heavy earlier, which resulted in it being hard to execute, but now he was thankful that Cai Yunxiang had given him the best materials. It was the main reason why his sword pellet didn't shatter from the initial impact. Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 212 based on novel. So let's start. Just as Qingyang finished speaking, his hand became empty when Pan Gong So fell to the floor, having become a shadow. Astonished, Qingyang grabbed for the shadow, but it scattered with a poof and turned into smoke, so his hand grasped only air. The smoke separated into a dozen parts and flew away by the ground. The young experts of the dragon village rose into the air and pounced at them from different directions, each chasing after one part. They dispersed each trail of smoke, but there were no traces of Pan Gong So. Suddenly, Qin Mu raised his hand and a sword light flew out. Blood light shone, and a leg landed on the ground with a splattering of blood from out of nowhere. Qin Mu controlled his sword with qi, and sword lights flashed, yet he didn't hit anything. More and more smoke spread out in all directions, escaping through various streets. Pan Gong Tso's astonished and angry voice soon came from every direction. Qin brat, you and I cannot exist together. The place had numerous people walking to and fro, so once the smoke filled up all the streets, quite a number of them cried out in astonishment. The crowd made it extremely difficult for the dragon experts to search for traces of Pan Gong Tso. Qin Yang's expression flickered. He was a dragon god, yet he had allowed Pan Gong Tso to slip away under his watch. He felt ashamed. If that wasn't enough, Pan Gong Tso was a cripple with one short and one long leg, the former of which even belonged to a deer. Yet that youth had still managed to escape, leaving him embarrassed. However, he couldn't be blamed. He didn't have any enmity with Pan Gong Tso, so he just patted the other's shoulder instead of seizing him. And by the Qin Mu said his warning, it was already too late to restrict the man. Pan Gong Tso's ability to escape was unmatched in the world, and even Qin Mu had to admit being inferior in that regard. When Shingan wanted to capture him, he had to face him head-on in the end, unlike Pan Gong Tso. Qin Mu saw that every one of the dragon village was dejected and said, "There's no need for everyone to be upset. I have to admit to being inferior to Pan Gong Tso in escaping abilities. I have fought with him numerous times on the same realm, and I could never take him down. My best achievement was cutting off one of his legs. Now that he's a realm higher than me and is already a great expert of celestial being realm, his abilities have improved by leaps and bounds again. He's now able to execute even more escaping divine arts than before, so it's even harder to catch hold of him. For me to be able to cut off one of his legs with everyone's help is already a rather extraordinary feat. For having such escaping abilities in celestial being realm, he's truly remarkable." Every one of the dragon village sighed endlessly in admiration. However, everyone felt quite uncomfortable. Pan Gong Tso had been left with a deer leg, yet he was still able to escape from their grasp. His ability to escape was truly terrifying. When they left the village, they held hopes to become famous after their first battle. Not one of them had expected that they might meet a freak like Pan Gong Tso straight away, and suffer a setback. To have met such an interesting person the first day we are out of the village, the world outside the village is more interesting than what I've imagined, Qing Yue said with excitement. However, the other people of the dragon village were not as excited as her. Qin Mu saw it and said with a smile, "It's been a long time since you guys have come into contact with the outside world, and your paths, skills, and divine arts are a little outdated. So don't be in a rush to return to the village. Why don't you follow me to Supreme Emperor Heaven to train and get in touch with the paths, skills, and divine arts of the current world?" Everyone acknowledged. "When we left the village, old ancestor warned us to not walk too close to you," Qing Yang said with some hesitation. Qin Mu picked up Pan Gong Tso's leg and sealed the section where it had been severed. He refined some medicinal liquid and placed the leg inside it. He smiled and said, "Elder Qing Huang is too careful. You guys should be able to see that I'm not a bad person. When you reach Supreme Emperor Heaven, feel free to ask about Heavenly Saint Cult Master Qin Mu. I guarantee you that my reputation is very good." Uncle Yang once went to Eternal Peace, and upon his return talked about Heavenly Saint Cult, which is called Heavenly Devil Cult. Its reputation wasn't too good, Qing Yue said. Qin Mu was full of smiles. There must have been a misunderstanding. Now that it's been cleared, every voice in Eternal Peace would definitely give praise to my Heavenly Saint Cult. Great Cult Master Qin turned around and walked into Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge while thinking to himself, "Those who called Heavenly Saint Cult a devil cult have almost all been crippled by me. But there might still be people talking bad about me behind my back, so it'd be best to go Supreme Emperor Heaven. My and Heavenly Saint Cult's reputation is very good there, and if they hear it, they won't be far from joining the cult." Qing Yang brought the young men, and young women into spirit energy mutual shift bridge with him, and the sky instantly swirled. They felt the fleetingness of time and space, and a vast and different world appeared in front of their eyes. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder. Qin Mu looked into the distance and his face became grim. In the sky, the artisans of eternal peace were assembling the second sun, which was already half complete. Yet even the light of two suns couldn't light up the entire Supreme Emperor heaven. Far into the distance, the sky was dim. The devil Qi there was like fog which shrouded the heaven and earth. It was the territory of the devils, and huge sacrificial altars as tall as mountains were bursting forth with intense black light in their lands. The black lights were like smoke that rushed straight into the clouds. Through them, humongous bodies descended from time to time. The devil gods are doing blood sacrifices again. Are they inviting their old ancestors from Yudu, the devil gods born from the accumulation of devil nature and grievances? Qin Mu composed himself. After he was kidnapped by Fu Riluo, he saw many majestic sacrificial altars in the old nest of the devils. From Fu Riluo, he knew that they would be used to summon Yudu devil gods. Back then, Fu Riluo had activated the curse in the jade pendant and was defeated by it. He was injured, and numerous sacrificial altars were also destroyed. But from the looks of it now, the devils had reconstructed the sacrificial altars in little time. And that day, they were activated, and Yudu devil gods broke through the barrier between Yudu and Supreme Emperor Heaven to come in one after another. They kept descending like there would be no end to them. The situation is getting serious. Qin Mu composed himself and summoned a guard of Supreme Emperor Heaven, who was in charge of guarding Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge. If you see a youth with one deer leg coming through the bridge, just slay him. Don't give him any chance to reason with you. The guard took the painting from Qin Mu's hand and passed the message to the other guards. Cult Master, don't worry. If this deer leg youth really walks through Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, he won't be able to escape death. I hope you guys can get rid of him. Qin Mu brought everyone in a hurry to Li City. The place felt like it had already encountered a great enemy, since weapons were being refined on every corner. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, Pang Yu, and the rest of the gods stood on the city tower and looked at the thousands of soldiers and cavalry's changing formation below them. Qin Mu brought Qing Yang and the rest up to them. It was resting place in the city anyway. Cult Master Qin, these people are? Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor asked as he examined Qing Yang, Qing Ya, and the rest with his heart in shock. He could see that the 37 people behind Qin Mu were extraordinary, and besides Jiang Miao, every single one of them had incomparably dense cultivation. 2 of them might even be gods. He had no idea where Qin Mu could have gotten such a huge group of experts. Imperial Preceptor, they are from Great Ruins Dragon Village. It's somewhat far away from my disabled elderly village, but I managed to invite them to join us after much difficulty. Qin Mu then introduced them. Brother Qing Yang, Sister Qing He, this is Imperial Preceptor of Eternal Peace Empire, the saint that appears once every 500 years. How can the saint that appears once every 500 years be compared to the overlord body that is rarely seen in the world? Cult Master Qin, the villages of your great ruins are really concealing talents. First were the 9 elders of disabled elder village, now the 36 heroes of Dragon Village. Your homeland is truly enigmatic and impossible to predict. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor then greeted Qing Yang, Qing He, and the rest before saying with a smile, I was worried about how we can fight this battle, but with everyone's assistance, the pressure I feel has gone down by a lot. Qing Yang hurriedly returned the greeting and said, I've heard of Imperial Preceptor's reputation long ago, and now I can finally see the man for myself. The legend of the saint that appears once every 500 years comes from long ago. I have already heard about it during founding emperor era. Brother Qin is actually the overlord body though. He looked at Qin Mu and said with a smile, truth be told, I've heard about the legend of the overlord body from Elder Qing Huang before. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was astonished and thought, there's really an overlord body in this world. I was still somewhat doubtful. He roused his spirit and said, everyone, the devils have called for a lot of reinforcements, and Heavenly Teacher has yet to return after going to the devil world. We have no idea what has happened to him. Even though Supreme Emperor Heaven has the support of eternal peace, our gods are few in number, so there cannot be any comparison to what the devils have summoner. True God Pang Yu and the rest had grim expressions. God Sang Yi said, Yudu devil gods are the ancestors of the devils and they only know how to kill. They are even more vicious than the devils, and they have even brought numerous monsters that are extremely terrifying. Their abilities are stronger than those of high-class devils, and they are very varied. We probably can't protect Supreme Emperor Heaven anymore. Everyone was silent. Qin Mu looked afar. There were still more Yudu devil gods being summoned over by the beams of black light. In Shingan's life and death realm, that woman called Lu Li was from Yudu. Why was she looking for me though? I wonder if she's among the Yudu devil gods that Fu Riluo has summoned. In the great capital of the devils, Fu Riluo rubbed his chest and looked at the sacrificial altar in front of him. Devil light swirled furiously, and numerous devil soldiers were slaughtering humans and lowly devils, treating them as offerings for blood sacrifice. There were many offerings for the upcoming one, which made it obvious that the Yudu devil god that was being summoned had extremely strong abilities. If not so, Fu Riluo wouldn't have been alerted. After a moment, the devil light in the sky suddenly gathered up and fell. When it dispersed, a peerless beauty stood in the center of the sacrificial altar. When Fu Riluo saw her, his face changed drastically, filling up with joy. He laughed and said, Lu Li of the four great commanders of Yudu, why would you respond to my summons and descend personally? The peerless beauty walked leisurely down the steps of the sacrificial altar while looking around herself. A male voice came from her mouth when she spoke with a smile. I'm here to find a person, a youth that's 18 years old. He has a jade pendant with Qin written on it which he always carries with himself. Fu Riluo gave a grunt and felt the wound on his chest ache again. It was the wound that Qin Mu had inflicted upon him. Lu Li, I've seen this youth that you want to find, Fu Riluo said indifferently. His jade pendant is very weird, but he is even weirder. You must have plucked his jade pendant and tried out the seal within it. Lu Li chuckled. Your wound that has yet to heal must be from him, right? Foolish. Fu Riluo's expression turned black, but Lu Li just smiled at him. If you capture this youth with the surname Qin, I'll help you annex Supreme Emperor Heaven. Fu Riluo grinned at her, the corners of his lips almost reaching his ears. Commander Lu Li, we are honored by your presence. It brings light to our humble dwelling. Fu Riluo, the wise sage of the devils, how can you lure the youth with the surname Qin? Lu Li inquired. Fu Riluo smiled and said leisurely, one of the four great commanders of Yudu, Lu Li, how are you going to help me annex Supreme Emperor Heaven? Lu Li looked at the huge sacrificial altars of the devil race and Yudu devil gods walking down from them. One such god grabbed over 100 devil divine arts practitioners, without any reason, and stuffed them into his mouth. It alarmed the other devils, and they fled in all directions. Beside the sacrificial altar, the devil gods of the devil race rushed forward to intercept the newcomers. Yudu devil gods were the ancestors of the devil race, and they only knew how to kill. They didn't have much intelligence. Numerous devil gods created a huge cover to trap the ancestor inside. He roared and tried to destroy the cover, but he couldn't shatter it. The devil gods summoned back the numerous devil divine arts practitioners. 100 strong workers pulled a huge cart over and moved the cover inside it. They then pulled it away with all their strength. There were 1,000 devil divine arts practitioners pushing the cart from the back as well. Their goal was to bring the devil ancestor to the front line. Your army is too weak, and the devil ancestors you summoned are too hard to control. They only know how to swallow, Lu Li said indifferently. If you want to borrow their strength to destroy the army of Supreme Emperor Heaven, it will end with devastation on both sides. The gains will not make up for the losses. When you conquer Supreme Emperor Heaven, it will be thoroughly destroyed, little better than your Luofu Heaven. Fu Riluo's gaze wavered. You should know my goal isn't Supreme Emperor Heaven, but the place of founding Emperor Celestial Heavens. Lu Li looked at him with a smile that was not really a smile. Fu Riluo, you want to use Supreme Emperor Heaven as a springboard, sacrificing it to connect Luofu Heaven, Supreme Emperor Heaven, and founding Emperor Celestial Heavens. Your wish is to descend to that world. Fu Riluo smiled silently. Dao brother is also a devil. Don't you wish to see our devil race growing stronger? Lu Li was silent for a moment before shaking her head. Your ambition is great, but your abilities are lacking. You will only bring trouble to yourself. However, I'm also a devil and will still assist you. You can't control the devil ancestors, but I can. She swept her sleeves up, and the cover on the huge cart in the distance suddenly split apart. The devil ancestor inside roared angrily and jumped out. He roared toward the sky and hammered his chest in fury. Devil Qi rushed out to him. Fu Riluo's face changed, and the devil gods in the surroundings were also alarmed. They all rushed to the devil ancestor in a hurry. Yet the devil ancestor suddenly rose into the air and flew over to Fu Riluo. He landed on the ground heavily and stood beside Lu Li motionlessly. The devil gods rushed over, but Fu Riluo raised his hand. Fall back. He looked at the devil ancestor, and the green face and fangs of this ancient devil god. He was covered in extremely ancient markings that seemed to be carved on his skin. Fu Riluo let out a shaky breath and said, "How many devil ancestors can Dao brother control?" Lu Li's beautiful face blossomed with a smile. "I can control as many as you can summon." Fu Riluo's three faces couldn't help changing their expressions. Lu Li's control over the devil ancestors meant that she could also make them attack his people and overthrow him. The reason he didn't want to be related to the celestial heavens was because he wanted to preserve his ruling position. He was afraid that the devils might fall into the control of the celestial heavens, so he didn't ask that place for help. Instead, he summoned the devil ancestors of Yudu. However, when he thought about it, he had been seeing it too simply. The celestial heavens already had control over the devil ancestors of Yudu, which meant that they wanted to control all of the devils. The moment Fu Riluo had summoned Lu Li, he was no longer in charge of the devils. "Now you can tell me how to capture that youth with the surname Qin, right?" Lu Li said. Fu Riluo composed himself and said, "It's not hard to capture him. Take the cities and seize the territories, go straight for the heart. As long as those people are humans, they will have weakness. The divine arts practitioners of Supreme Emperor Heaven that are afraid of death are not few in number, and more than a few of them have come to our side. One of them is even a god. As long as I give the command, someone will capture him and bring him to see me." Lu Li's eyes lit up. "You have a spy in Supreme Emperor Heaven who's even a god. Who is he?" Qin Mu stood in front of the Li City Tower and watched the black tiger god leaping through the air as though he was flying. He brought the dragon Qilin and Hulinga back from the faraway devil territory. Along with them returned hundreds of Supreme Emperor Heaven and Eternal Peace's divine arts practitioners. Fatty Dragon seems to have become skinnier. Qin Mu's eyes lit up. While he was not around, the dragon Qilin seemed to have actually become skinnier. Even though he still had a big tummy, it at least didn't touch the ground anymore. Qin Mu was glad to see that. After a moment, the black tiger god reached the city gates and looked up to see him standing above. He immediately brought the dragon Qilin and Hulinga up with him and landed beside Qin Mu. He then shook his body and transformed into a smiling youth. Junior brother, you are finally back. Fatty dragon, spit out your dragon bead to show my junior brother. The dragon Qilin saw Qin Mu like long-lost family. He was about to pounce over to ask for spirit pills, but after the tiger god's words, he could only sit down obediently and spit out his bead. It was evident that he hadn't faced a lack of beating during this period of time, for he had become very obedient. The bead rose into the sky, and instantly flames surged from inside it. The bead shone with multicolored light that had extraordinary splendor, lighting up the area of dozens of miles. There was a dragon-shaped marking in the bead that swam continuously inside it. There was an abnormally strong water vapor fluctuation because of it. Qin Mu cheered, but he was also feeling that something was strange. This dragon bead of the dragon Qilin was much smaller than the other dragon beads he had seen before. It was only the size of a thumb, while the smallest dragon bead he had seen was the size of a fist. Isn't Fatty Dragon fire attribute? How is the dragon bead of water attribute? And it's so small. Could I have given him the wrong spirit pills? Just as he thought that, the dragon Qilin spat out a bead which was like a blazing sun in the sky, emanating with blazing heat energy. Even Qin Mu felt a stinging pain when its light landed on him. 2 dragon beads. No, the other bead is a Qilin bead. Qin Mu was astonished at first, but then he understood what had happened. The second bead wasn't a dragon bead, and had a strange beast marking in the shape of a Qilin. It was standing on fire clouds, with its mouth open for roaring. The Qilin bead was unusually big, almost the size of a round-bottomed basket that was 2 feet wide. Inside it was incomparably terrifying Qilin fire. Qilin fire was incomparably fierce, and its heat was outstanding. When Qin Mu looked at the Qilin bead, he had a suspicion that the dragon Qilin might have cultivated to life and death realm. The dragon bead has water attribute, while the Qilin bead has fire attribute. Could Fatty Dragon be water and fire attribute? Qin Mu had a blank gaze. He only knew that the dragon Qilin liked to eat fire attribute spirit pills, like Scarlet Fire Spirit and Fire Element Divine Vitality pills. So he had never expected for him to also have a water attribute. Now, one of the 2 beads was very large, while the other extremely small. It was obvious it stemmed from the dragon Qilin being picky about his food. The black tiger god was proud of his achievements and said with a smile, "Junior brother, Fatty Dragon has eaten too many spirit pills, which have all accumulated in his body, resulting in his corporeal body being fat. This fellow is also exceptionally lazy, so he has never cultivated before. He only cultivated by eating, so he kept growing fatter and fatter. When I brought him out and made him fight the devil brats, it squeezed out his potential, and he was finally able to refine the energy from the pills into the beads and become skinnier. Here, I'll return Fatty Dragon to you. It's so annoying, during these couple days, I haven't found a single devil god with which I could fight to my heart's content." Qin Mu was full of gratitude and smiled at him. "Senior brother, thanks for the trouble." The black tiger god smiled back. "I'm off. Don't start any trouble now, and just wait here obediently for me to return." "That's right. Don't feed Fatty Dragon any more Scarlet Fire Spirit pills, or Fire Element Divine Vitality pills, since there is still accumulated energy within his body. Once he finishes refining all of it, the Qilin bead will become more than thrice bigger." Once he said that, he leaped off the tower and vanished. When the dragon Qilin saw him leaving, he choked on his tears, unable to speak. Qin Mu was very happy with the proceedings. Fatty Dragon must have missed me, so he's crying from being emotional. Hu Linga hesitated for a moment, then said in a soft voice, "Young master, Fatty Dragon is crying cause he is hungry, and because of the Black Tiger God's training. He finished all the spirit pills you left for him a long time ago, and he doesn't like to eat anything else." Yet the Black Tiger God kept making him fight with strong devil practitioners without giving him time to rest. Now that his oppressor is finally gone, he started to weep in grievance. The dragon Qilin nodded repeatedly. Qin Mu took out herbs to refine pills and said with a smile, "I knew you would be hungry, so when I came back, I bought numerous spirit herbs. My biggest gain this time is still finding Fatty Dragon a cultivation technique. However, you also have the bloodline of a Qilin, so Ancestral Dragon's Supreme Mystery Technique won't activate all of your potential." He rapidly finished refining a furnace of spirit pills and handed it over to the Dragon Qilin. They were water element divine vitality pills, the same spirit pills he had fed Jiang Miao. The Dragon Qilin licked one spirit pill and instantly noticed that the taste was different. He held back his tears while eating that one, then put the rest away. "Fatty Dragon, why didn't you eat all of them?" Hu Linga asked with curiosity. "I'm scared of starving, so I want to save some. Besides, the taste of this spirit pill isn't right, it's not Scarlet Fire spirit pill." The Dragon Qilin then turned to Qin Mu and asked carefully, "Cult Master, can you refine a few more buckets of Scarlet Fire spirit pills?" Qin Mu turned a deaf ear to him and summoned Jiang Miao. "Junior brother Jiang Miao, teach Fatty Dragon Ancestral Dragon's Supreme Mystery Technique, while I refine more water element divine vitality pills to give the two of you." Jiang Miao acknowledged and imparted Ancestral Dragon's Supreme Mystery Technique to the Dragon Qilin, explaining to him the parts that were difficult to understand. The Dragon Qilin's comprehension wasn't bad, he was just too lazy. However, with the Black Tiger God's harsh training, he didn't dare to slack off and managed to learn what he was told quickly. Qin Mu refined a few more furnace of water element divine vitality pills, and gave to Jiang Miao and the Dragon Qilin. "Cult Master Qin, you are back." Qin Yu's voice rang out, and he sprinted up the tower. He was next to them with a face full of smiles in a heartbeat. "Cult Master is a man of his word. I trust you will return that little dragon of mine too." The smile on Jiang Miao's face froze, and he looked over helplessly. Qin Mu welcomed their guest and said with a smile, "Junior brother Qin Yu, let me tell you a piece of wonderful news. That little dragon of yours learned a god technique that's very powerful, so he can definitely become a dragon king in the future." Qin Yu was elated and looked around. "Much thanks, Cult Master. Where's my good boy? Junior brother Jiang Miao, come. Junior brother Qin Yu is calling you." Qin Mu beckoned with his hand, and Jiang Miao braced himself before walking forward. Hu Linga's mouth dropped open, and she looked blankly as the youth walked toward Qin Yu. She kicked the Dragon Qilin and asked, "Fatty Dragon, do you have any popcorns?" The Dragon Qilin shook his head. Qin Yu stared with a blank expression at the youth who was walking over. The young man looked similar to him, just more handsome than him. Even though he was somewhat shy, he had an impressive appearance, and his abilities weren't weak. "Cult Master Qin." Qin Yu turned his head to look at Qin Mu, his gaze full of astonishment, fear, helplessness, confusion, and not knowing what to do. "Jiang Miao is that little dragon of yours, the son of Surging River Dragon King. He has cultivated Ancestral Dragon's Supreme Mystery Technique, and won't have any problems in cultivating to a dragon god, or dragon king in the future." Qin Mu took out a few sticks of incense, and stabbed them in the tower's walls. "Now I returned him to you, you two can have a long chat." He was about to leave when Qin Yu grabbed his sleeve and said helplessly, "Cult Master Qin, I lent you a dragon and you return me a." Jiang Miao grabbed his other sleeve, and Qin Mu felt helpless. He could only say, I'll take charge and make you guys become sworn brothers, how about that? Junior brother Qin Mu, how old are you? Qin Mu nodded in a daze. I'm 17 years old. Qin Mu looked at Jiang Miao, and the youth calculated for a moment. I'm 20,087 years old. Your ages are just right, the difference isn't too big. Qin Mu clapped his hands and said with a smile, from today onwards, Jiang Miao will be Qin Yu's sworn big brother, and Qin Yu will be Jiang Miao's sworn little brother. Now things won't be too awkward. Come, you two can kowtow and become sworn brothers. After he said that, he pressed both of them to kneel down. Jiang Miao and Qin Yu had blank expressions, as they were forced by him to kowtow several times. Qin Mu wiped away his cold sweat and quickly said, Congratulations. Linger, fatty dragon, let me bring you two to meet some seniors of the dragon race. Let's go. Hu Linger wanted to continue watching the show, but she was placed onto the back of the dragon Chalene and brought away by Qin Mu. Only Qin Yu and Jiang Miao were left in the city tower. Young master, I want to see how they will get along. Hu Linger was full of curiosity, and turned her head back to look. Qin Yu and Jiang Miao were still facing each other, standing speechless. From Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, a young man with 2 deer legs walked out and raised his head to look around in utter astonishment. He muttered, This world is much more vast than eternal peace. There are gods and devils everywhere. The brat had actually constructed such a bridge to connect to the other world. This is truly superlative craftsmanship. The little rascal clearly likes to create nonsense like this and isn't focused on cultivating. Making this bridge had to have taken him quite a while. So how did his cultivation still rise so quickly? Leader. One of the guards on the side pouted and whispered, Look at that deer-legged youth. Is he the one on the portrait that cult master Qin had drawn? The guard hurriedly took out Qin Mu's painting and did a comparison. His eyes lit up. Exactly the same. However, the youth in the painting only has 1 deer leg while this youth has 2 deer legs. Is it him or not? While he was hesitating, he saw that youth begin to walk down the stone steps. No matter what, we should take him down first. The guard shot a glance to the other guards, and they all understood the silent command. They rose into the sky, and all kinds of divine arts and spirit weapons burst forth. Sword pellets, knife pellets, tall buildings, pagodas, huge cauldrons, and other spirit weapons came smashing down at a great speed and drowned out the deer-legged youth. Terrifying ripples spread in all directions, reverberating for a long time. Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge was of utmost importance to both worlds, so the ones guarding it were mostly experts. The lowest of them was on Life and Death Realm, while there were many of them on Divine Bridge Realm. Everyone then retrieved their spirit weapons, and quickly came to the bottom of the sacrificial altar to take a look. They saw white ground, but no trace of the deer-legged youth. Astonished, they looked around. Light burst forth from their eyes and penetrated through everything in 100 miles radius. Suddenly, they saw a deer-legged youth 100 miles away, running forward with gentle steps. Let's shoot him with our divine eyes, the guard ordered, and divine light gathered rapidly in the eyes of the numerous guards. They transformed into beams of light with astonishing power, and rushed toward the deer-legged youth. He vanished just before the pupil divine arts hit his body. When he reappeared, he was another 100 miles away. By then, he was 200 miles away from Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge. Everyone was ready to use their pupil divine arts, but the deer-legged youth vanished again, and could no longer be seen. The guards looked at one another, aghast. They didn't know what to do next. At that moment, they heard the sound of footsteps behind them, and a youth walked out from the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge. A huge chest followed behind him. It had several legs and clattered as it walked after the youth with delicate facial features. It seems like Cult Master Qin's chest, but this person isn't Cult Master Qin. Everyone was bewildered when the youth with eyes like stars spoke in a nice voice. Is this Supreme Emperor heaven? Where are the true devils? Is little brother a person of eternal peace? Why would you be looking for true devils? If you want to find some of their kind, just head to the devil territory over there. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor is currently training soldiers in Li City, so you may first want to go there and look for him. It would make things more convenient. The youth shook his head. I just want to collect the corporeal bodies and primordial spirits of some devil gods. So why should I find Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, this junior? The him now is still not worthy to be part of my collection. He was about to leave when an old man full of wrinkles walked out of the bridge while carrying a huge chest and furnace of his back. He was full of smiles and looked quite happy. Why are all the people coming from Eternal Peace today weird? All of the guards were bewildered. First it was a youth with 2 deer legs, next it's 2 weird men bringing along their chests. The youth had a drastic change in expression when he saw the old man carrying the furnace and the chest. His face turned incomparably dark. Mute, I've been looking for you for a long time. When the old man saw him, his expression changed. The smile on his face froze. That's right, it's me, Shingan. Shingan's murder intent rushed to the sky, and he said coldly, although I no longer have the need to collect your parts, you trapped me inside for so long that I have to take revenge. Mute, you run so fast. Light flashed from Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge, and an incomparably sturdy man cloaked with an overcoat walked out. He carried a huge knife on his shoulder and spoke with a smile. Your chest is still good, transforming into a boat for you to run around. I could barely catch up to. Shingan. Heaven knife. The corner of Shingan's eyes twitched, and the chest behind him suddenly pulled its legs back to hide behind him. It was obvious that it still remembered Butcher chopping it into pieces. Shingan put his hands behind his back and said indifferently, you have also broken through the divine bridge and entered the celestial palaces. One mute, one heaven knife, both gods, both enemies. You can both come together. Butcher's eyes lit up, and he laughed loudly. Shingan, I've chased you through 80,000 miles, but you still escaped. You are truly remarkable. That old fellow village chief says that your abilities are extremely strong, but it's a pity he's dead. However, you are still alive, so I wanted to meet you for a long time. This video will end here.